I have over 7,000 hours in Rocket League, and the crazy part about it is I started in free to play, which means I average over 6 hours a day of Rocket League. And the problem was that I spent at least 4,000 hours practicing things that weren't really helping me in the real game. I learned how to double flip reset before I learned how to do a power shot. I learned how to triple reset and how to max up reset before I learned how to fast aerial. And I learned a bunch of mechanics before I could even flick. And if there's one thing I could go back and tell myself, it would be to learn the entire game, because you see, I never actually learned Rocket League until about 5,000 hours in, and the reason for that, I learned how to play in the air, I learned how to flip reset. I didn't know Rocket League though. I didn't know how to defend, I didn't know how to flick, I didn't know how to fast aerial, I didn't game sense, I didn't know how to rotate. There's a lot of things I didn't know, and there was very few things that I did know, so in very little situations did what I wanted to do pan out. And so what happened was I was very low rank for a very long time, and it was never by a mechanical error, it was always by game sense. It got to a certain point where I was basically hard stuck because my mechanics were better than everyone in every lobby, but my game sense was so bad that I would just stay in the same rank. I was stuck in champ for probably about a year, and a huge tip I would give is to learn the game as a whole for development when you're first starting. And the reason for that is because Rocket League isn't like any other game. It's not like I can just launch up Valorant and I have CSGO experience, so I'm already good at Valorant. It's not like that for Rocket League. There's no way to practice your boost. There's no way to practice rotation. There's no way to practice aerials. There's no way to practice mechanics. It's all starting from scratch. Everyone starts in the same place. So it's important to realize that this is the most fun you're going to have in Rocket League, because once you get to the higher ranks, unfortunately, it gets a little bit less fun, but nonetheless, some people love the competitive aspect of it, and some people prefer to stick to freestyling and the casual side of it. Another huge tip I would give to those watching is to look at your playstyle, right? When you're learning the game, you need to decide your personality for Rocket League. You need to decide, am I an aggressive player? Am I a passive player? I won't go too deep into the playstyle side of things because I do have a playstyle guide video on my YouTube channel. I'll link in the description below if you guys are interested in that. But it's important to know what playstyle you like so that you can train based off of that. And then once you know your playstyle, you should be limit testing. You should not go into a game, at least in my opinion, and only do the safe option of things, because you won't improve like that, right? It's actually better to fail when you try certain mechanics. And that may sound super weird. How could it be better to fail? It just is. Unfortunately, that's the way things work, and that's in a lot more things in Rocket League. You go to the gym, you want to fail, you want to train hard, so that the next day you can grow, you can, be stronger the day after that and always be better than you were the previous day. And the only way you can do that is by failing. So when you're going into games, you want to be trying to do hard mechanics that are difficult for you. That's why in a lot of my videos I say, always make it difficult, because if it's difficult now, maybe a week from now it will be easy, and then you'll improve progressively. And so that is probably the biggest tip I could give, is to always be testing the limit and to always be improving, and your rank will skyrocket like crazy. Another tip is to not worry about your rank. And I know that sounds a little bit controversial because I just said your rank will skyrocket, but your rank, what is a rank? It's just an image. It's a PNG. It's a JPG file. It doesn't mean anything, and honestly, in the lower ranks especially, it's not a great indicator for your improvement. The only way to rank up is to win games, right? But like I just said, it's better to fail, so you should be losing games because you're trying new things. But if your mechanics are improving and your game sense is improving, but your rank is decreasing, does that mean you're becoming a worse player? No, absolutely not. At least in my opinion, I think you're becoming a better player when you're testing the limit, when you're failing, when you're learning more mechanics, when you're learning the game, when you're using your time wisely. I think you're becoming a better player, and I don't think your rank matters, at least until you get to a certain point. Now, aside from that, I think it's important to start learning mechanics as early as humanly possible, because here's the thing about Rocket League. Mechanics take time, while game sense takes knowledge, right? Mechanics are one of those things where the only way to get better is by repetition and practice. But game sense, you could honestly just study your replays, which we'll get into in a minute, but mechanics are very, very important. And I know it sounded like I bashed my mechanics early on to this video, and that's because I learned the wrong mechanics. When you're studying mechanics and you're learning mechanics, You don't want to be doing mechanics that you won't be using, because then you're just wasting your time. You want to be using mechanics that you would like to use in a real game, right? I don't ever see myself doing a triple reset in game. I don't ever see myself doing a double musty in game. Sure, I do single musties very often, but to a certain point, it's too much. So if I had to hone in on 5 mechanics, it would be the power shot, it would be the flip reset,
The air dribble.
the flick, and the fast aerial. Those are the most important mechanics. I would argue all day and night about that. To my more experienced players, I would really advise you to look at your replays in games. This is the fastest way to understand where you're going wrong, and you can fix these mistakes. And if you're at a high enough rank where you can't understand your replays, I honestly don't think it's a bad idea to have one of your higher ranked friends look at the replays, or you could even pay for a replay review for like $10 or something like that, and it will tremendously help you rank up if you're at the point where you don't know what you're doing wrong. And if you do know what you're doing wrong, you have to consciously think about the mistakes you're making. To recap, if I had to tell myself one thing, it would to learn the game in a broad sense. So I'm not just learning one part of the game, but I'm learning everything. I'm learning how to flick, to dribble, to power shot, to go in the air, to be a good goalie, to rotate, learning everything at once. And then once you've done that for about 100 hours, hone in on specific parts of the game that you like. So if you like to be an aggressive player, work on being an aggressive player. If you like to be passive, work on being a good last man. And then after you've done that, analyze your replays, and you will rank up if you're analyzing your replays and understanding where you went wrong, and then thinking and then not making that mistake again. But if you guys could do it all over again, how would you guys do it to get as good as fast as possible? Let me know down in the comments below. See you on the next one.